Hello again, and welcome into the Week 4 edition of the ETSN.fm podcast. I'm Clint Buckley, and I'm joined by Chandler Vessels. Chandler, it's a big week for high school football. You ready?
Yeah, I mean, district play is getting started. We got number 1, number 2 teams in 4A going at each other. It should be a good week.
Well, let's get right into it. As you mentioned, District 11 6A play begins this week, and we've got 3 great matchups involving East Texas teams to talk about. First up, Longview at Mesquite Horn. Longview is rolling. They're 3-0. They're outscoring their opponents by an average of 28 points per game, and they keep on rolling despite their star running back Jesse Anderson being gone for the year.
Mm-hmm. A lot of that outscoring opponents by an average of 28 points has to do with their defense. They're only allowing 10 points per game right now. But you mentioned Jesse Anderson out for the year. One guy who's going to have to step up for them this week is Keelan Williams. He's their second leading rusher right now. He's complete opposite of what Jesse Anderson is, just in terms of like physically. He's 5'4", he's really small. Jesse Anderson's more of a bruiser type running back. Keelan Williams is definitely like a speed guy, but I still expect him to fill in pretty nicely. I got a chance to see him in the scrimmage. He had a couple of big plays that he ran for, so I'm expecting him to fill in for Anderson.
Yeah, and he introduced himself to the football scene this year on the very first play of the 2017 season, returning the opening kickoff for a touchdown, 98 yards against Lufkin to help set the tone in that win. But you're right, though. Keelan Williams is completely different from Jesse Anderson. He's one of those guys, Jesse that'll just run right at you and not shy away from contact, and Keelan just runs by you. He's fast, he's small, he's elusive. Crazy stat, John King. This blows my mind every time I see it. Longview head coach John King, 72-5 all time in district games.
Yeah,
that's nuts. That goes back to 2004. So if you're a team in 11-6A and you see that, you're like, well, are we going to win? Are we going to lose, or what? Yeah.
And one thing that's just a crazy stat, dominance all around. And especially when you consider how long he's been with the program, to sustain winning percentage like that is just all the more impressive. But another thing I'm looking for out of this matchup, they've had the quarterback battle sort of ongoing. They've played 3 different guys, but I really expect them to sort of stick with a main guy this game. District play starting, they're going to need to commit to someone, and I expect that guy to be Jordan Lawson. He's looked the best out of the 3 so far. He has over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Haynes King has looked good, but the one thing that I think might give Lawson an edge is he's a senior compared to King being a sophomore. Maybe they want someone with more experience to be the leader of that offense. But either way, I really expect that battle to get solved this week.
Mesquite Horn comes in at 2-1, but that's a little misleading. They could easily be 3-0. They began the season with big wins over McKinney Boyd and Dallas Skyline, and they're coming off a really tight game loss to State Power Cedar Hill, Cedar Hill 28-20. So Horn's going to present a challenge for Longview. It should be a great way to open 11-6A. Another good game, John Tyler against Rockwall. The Lions are coming off their first loss of 2017. They gave up 44 points and over 300 rushing yards against Lufkin last week. They come in at 2-1. They're playing a Rockwall team that's 1-2. This game was a shootout last year. John Tyler ended up losing 58-57, despite putting up over 700 yards of offense. And even though the quarterback Bryson Smith and the leading receiver Damian Miller have graduated, John Tyler's offense is continued to kind of pick up where they left off last season, and a lot of that has to do with their new quarterback Devlin Woods. His last 2 games, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he's getting it done right now for John Tyler. And we mentioned John King and his amazing district record. Rickland Holmes 28-3 in district games. Not as far back as John King goes. I believe Holmes' first year at John Tyler was 2012. But still, 28-3 in district games is very good. Rockwall, they're 1-2, but again, that's a little bit misleading. They opened the year with an impressive win over defending Class 5A Division I state champion Highland Park, and then followed that up with a couple of tough losses to some really good 6A programs, Rowlett and South Lake Carroll. So I'm expecting another big-time offensive fireworks display on Friday night. Rockwall does it through the air. Their quarterback, Jacob Clark, already has over 1,000 yards passing. So this will be a real big test for John Tyler's secondary, which really hasn't faced a what I would call a pass-first offense yet this season. They opened up against Plano West and then Ennis. Both of those teams like to run the ball. And then Lufkin last week had great success on the ground, as we mentioned earlier, 300 yards on the ground. So it'll be interesting to see how John Tyler's defense handles a passing attack the caliber of Rockwall. And then last but not least, we got Rockwall, Heath, at Tyler Lee. How about Lee? They're 3-0 to begin the season. They're looking for their first 4-0 start since 2003. You saw Lee in the opener. I saw him a couple of weeks ago against Corsicana. There's a lot to like about this Lee team.
Yeah, I mean, after that opener, they beat Marshall 29-27. We sort of talked about, there was high expectations for them this year, but maybe the expectations were too high, after that first game. They pretty much put that to rest with the next game when they beat Corsicana 42-15, and then a big win against Nacogdoches last week. They're obviously for real. They have a great quarterback in Chance Amy, a great running back in Ladarius Wickware, and good defense too.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is kind of what's held them back the last couple of years. If you've been following Lee football over the last half decade or so, it's been the defense that's kind of let them down, but not this year. So far through 3 games, they've allowed just about 20 points per game, which in this day and age is great defense if you're only allowing 20 points per game. And they've forced 7 turnovers, and that's really helped them, especially the last couple of weeks, hold down the offenses of both Corsicana and Nacogdoches. So what Heath is going to want to do is they're going to want to shorten the game. They have a kind of an old school run first attack. And what they like to do is 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, shorten the game, bleed the clock, and they play pretty good defense too. They're holding opponents to 17 points per game, so it's going to be big for Lee's defense to make sure they get off the field on third down and prevent that defense from tiring out in the second half. So those are the 3 big games in 11-6A this week involving East Texas teams. Should be a whole lot of fun, but we know why you're here. 1 versus 2 in the state in Class 4A. Carthage versus Gilmer on Saturday night. They have the stage all to themselves in East Texas. I'm looking forward to this one. We're both going to be there in Gilmer on Saturday night. This will be your first taste of big time high school football, I guess, because it's got the attention of the entire state. I'm sure you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been to 4 games so far, and they've had pretty big crowds, but I mean, I'm sure it'll be nothing compared to just the people that are going to show up to this one. And the game should be really good too. You got 2 good quarterbacks on both teams. Poppy Brown at Gilmer is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the area. Threw for 5,000 yards last year. Already has I think close to 900 this year, and through 3 games. And then on the other side, you've got Gunnar Capps, who has really impressed in his first year. I mean, he has plenty of options to throw to in that Carthage offense. Right. And also, you have the best running back in the state, Keontae Ingram. It should be a really great game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And you talk about what can make the biggest difference in a game like this. And you look at, both offenses are good, so probably going to come down to which defense plays the best. Mm-hmm. And, Gilmer struggled right off the bat. They gave up 57 points in a 1-point win against Liberty Ilo to begin the year. But the last 2 weeks have been really good. They gave up 17 points, I believe, to Center the next week, and then holds Argyle Liberty Christian to 7 last week. So obviously they're getting better on the defensive side of the ball. Carthage is a completely different animal on offense, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are a lot of things they have to worry about and defend. But I think it's a good sign that Gilmer is at least playing better on defense these last couple of weeks, so they're improving. Carthage, on the other hand, their defense is fine. They were hit a little bit the week prior against Liberty Ilo, but they came up big last week against White House, forced some turnovers. Really didn't allow White House to do very much of anything on offense, especially as the game wore on in the second half. So as far as what's going to determine the outcome of this game, I think turnovers is going to play a big role. We saw this last year in the game. Gilmer had 3 first-half turnovers. Carthage was able to get off to a 21-3 lead in the first quarter. They kind of leaned on Keontae Ingram after that and was able to kind of put the game away thanks to that big start. So I think it's going to be a key early in this game is if turnovers play a role, which team is going to come up with the big plays on defense and force those takeaways. Because right now, both offenses, or at least Carthage, they've struggled protecting the football, especially the last couple of weeks. You saw them against Liberty Ilo, 3 turnovers, and then last week 3 turnovers against White House. So ball security is going to be important. I think it can give either team an edge as far as the outcome of this game is whichever team can make the biggest plays. And we see this all the time in games where teams are evenly matched. Is mistakes often play the biggest role in the game. Which team makes the mistake at the most crucial moment in the game. So you hate to see games come down to it, but that's often what decides games like that. So it couldn't be more excited. It's going to be a blast. 7 p.m. kickoff on Saturday from Jeff Taylor Stadium in Kilgore. Carthage versus Gilmer, 1 versus 2 in the state. We're going to be all over it, so be sure to follow us on Twitter, and then come back late Saturday night, early Sunday morning for complete coverage of Carthage Gilmer. Before we get out of here, we want to give a shout-out to our offensive and defensive players of the week. On offense, how about Texas High quarterback Colton Clack? We mentioned last week on the show that Texas High was in desperate need of a win. They started off 0-2. They had gone through a very rough patch, not just on the football field, as we know, with the passing of Leonard Parks. And they just needed something positive to happen to them. And Colton Clack came up in a big way for them last week. 335 total yards of offense. The junior quarterback accounted for 5 touchdowns and helping Texas High beat Liberty Ilo 37-23 to get win number 1. And then on defense, we'll see him on Saturday night, our defensive player of the week.
Yeah, we mentioned Carthage's defense having no issues. A big reason for that has been Ja'Cory Ware. 3 interceptions last week against White House. There was only 3 interceptions of the year, but he's now at the top of the East Texas leaderboard from interceptions. So, it'll be interesting. I doubt he replicates that performance, but it'll be interesting to see what he does against Gilmer this week.
Yeah, I doubt after watching film, I doubt that Poppy, will try to pick on Ja'Cory Ware in one-on-one coverage the way that White House did after the 3 interception performances. I'm sure he'll get a little more respect. What's the word? Just ignoring.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Revis Island treatment. Where they just
Island.
Yeah, Ware Island. So that nobody goes near it. But we'll see. But congratulations to our offensive and defensive players of the week: Colton Clack from Texas High and Ja'Cory Ware from Carthage. All right, that's going to about wrap it up for this week. Be sure to check out all of the previews from the big games we have this week on ETSN.fm. You can download our mobile app. It's available at Google Play or the App Store. It's the perfect way to follow the live scoreboard we have on Friday nights, the best live scoreboard in East Texas, presented by America's Car Mart. You can take it anywhere, whatever game you're going to on Friday nights. You can have the app on your phone, and you can be plugged in to all that's going on that night in East Texas. And then the best way to get in touch with Chandler and myself is on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter. He's at Chandler Vessels. I'm at Clint Buckley. Or you can follow us on ETSN.fm. That's at ETSN.fm. So it's going to be a big week across East Texas. Chandler and I are very excited. We're looking forward to it. We hope you are as well. For Chandler Vessels, I'm Clint Buckley. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend.